Here are the top posts from ExplainLikeImFive on the 21st of November 2019.
Hypercell 57. LF. How does Neosporin and triple antibiotic ointment prevent infection? Why? How does it differ from antibiotics that go internal, such as IV and oral antibiotics?
MLPR 34 Clopper. Neosporin is a mix of 3 different antibiotics. First one, neomycin, can actually be used internally, but only kills very specific types of bacteria and typically is not the best choice for internal infections. The second one, bacitracin zinc, is toxic to the kidneys, so it cannot be taken internally. The third component, Neosporin, Ploimyxin B, can be and is used internally, but typically only on bacteria resistant to anything else. As it is both toxic to the kidneys and the nervous system, it is typically used internally, only as a last resort, when nothing else will work. So the short answer is that the main difference is the stuff in Neosporin is a bit too toxic to safely swallow, unless it is the only chance of stopping an infection that would otherwise be fatal. But it's an antibiotic, just like any other.
Sakafist. And I want to know why occasionally a doctor will tell me to use a double antibiotic ointment, but avoid the triple. Very lizard. So oral antibiotics, generally, get absorbed by your body and circulate through your blood. IV antibiotics are delivered directly to your bloodstream. This is useful because your whole body gets blood flow. Certain areas such as joints get very poor blood flow, so infections to those areas are hard to treat. You can treat systemic, body-wide, or just rely on blood goes everywhere to treat infections in a specific area. Oral antibiotics for something like strep throat. Antibiotic ointments are just a paste with antibiotics that are designed to kill or inhibit growth of bacteria at the site of an injury, to prevent bacteria from getting into the body through a wound. This is important because normally your skin protects you from environmental bacteria. A break in your skin provides an opening in that natural barrier. TL. Dr. IV. Oral antibiotics are systemic. They end up in your blood and go everywhere in your body. Neosporin, etc. are just ointments that provide protection from bacteria locally, specifically at a break in your skin. Footnote. There are advantages to not providing systemic antibiotic coverage because antibiotics all have side effects and potential adverse effects. Limiting excess systemic exposure mitigates risk. Edit. If the question is more specifically trying to get at why do we choose drug X instead of drug Y? Basically, different types of bacteria have different traits. Cell walls, cell membranes, metabolic pathways, response to oxygen, and antibiotics are designed to optimally kill bacteria with a certain set of traits while minimizing harm to the patient. Human cells. X. Bleach is a great way to kill a lot of different kinds of bacteria. But it's a terrible choice for treating an infection because it kills your cells too. We also know what types of bacteria are common in a lot of places and what kind of symptoms they cause, so Neosporin is made of stuff that's great for stopping infections from common skin, environmental bacteria. Oral, IV antibiotics are selected to treat the bacteria that is suspected or known to be causing a patient's problem. We pick different antibiotics for a joint infection versus a GI tract infection versus pneumonia or tuberculosis. 4-second usage. ExplainLikeImFive. How do electric motors generate movement from electricity? D9 Megan. They use magnetized You suspend an electromagnet on an axle inside a magnetic field. It will move to a balanced position if you electrify the magnet. Now the trick is that if you switch the polarity, the axle has to turn half a spin to be in balance. Again, if you keep switching the polarity, it keeps spinning to find balance. It's like holding a carrot in front of a donkey. The balance is the carrot and it's always just out of reach. Holmgren. Electricity and magnetism are intertwined as two sides of the same force coin. Basically, if you move magnets around electrically charged particles, i.e. electrons, the electrically charged particles experience force and want to move around. If you induce current through wires, it creates electric fields around it that are felt by nearby magnets. So in the case of an electric motor, there is electric potential from, let's say, a battery, and it creates some current. The current needs to be AC or alternating, but that's not super important for the basic point. If you have a few magnets connected in a circular pattern around, near a part of this wire with current running through it, the magnets feel the electric field created by the electrically charged particles moving around. The magnets get pushed around by the electricity moving around, and you can get mechanical motion that way. If you had a gas generator, or a steam turbine, and you connected magnets to it and connected some wires in the right way, you can do this in the reverse direction. Turbine spins from the steam and magnets move around, and the electrons in the metal wires feel the magnetic field getting moved around and they start flowing in a current. Basically,
Argle-bargle-glop-glyph. You know how two magnets either snap together, or can't be pushed together no matter how hard you try. If you attach a magnet to a shaft, and surround it with magnets, that's a motor. Then, electrical current alternates through the magnets, switching which end is closer to the shaft. It works like an endless stream of magnets shoved past the one that won't let you touch.
Atomic Chad. ExplainLikeImFive. How online gaming processes fast-paced decision-making accurately.
44414E. It's not up to the millisecond. There's a lot of delay involved and servers rarely run higher than 60 Hz. Human reaction time is around 150 to 300 milliseconds, so as long as the total delay is less than that, isn't really much of an issue. On the how, a lot of servers just do what they're told to do at the time without caring about latency of the player. Player says jump. 20 milliseconds later the server gets told to jump. The player jumps. Usually, the games are also run on the server and your server character gets simplified versions of the inputs you provide, where you look around, run about, use abilities, etc. The server doesn't need to know every detail, so your client can just send the important stuff like your position, whether you hit someone, what ability you used. There are some more complicated ways of handling the inputs and servers. Overwatch users prefer the shooter model that processes hits on your client as a priority, while things like positioning and abilities are triggered on the server. This is done to make shooting feel more precise. I think CS:GO uses an entirely server-based decision system where all the inputs are sent to the server and it just acts on the first one it gets. Some games might take a timestamp of the packet and use that to determine who shot first. Best way I can explain it would be to just imagine that your KBM or controller is just connected with a really long wire to the server in a lot of cases.
Duke 4E. Server simulates everything the client you send to Hi Monsieur at the same time the client simulates and responds to your input and displays everything on screen. If by some chance the server and client data don't match, the server sends the truth with timestamp. Your client rewinds to that timestamp, resimulates all your pressed keystrokes and fast-forwards to now.
RealDeal64. ExplainLikeImFive. How are ammunition sizes chosen? M first 3RC. They're just different scales measuring the bore of your weapon. Imperial vs metric. To explain, 7.62 mm is 30 caliber. The caliber of a weapon is the diameter of the barrel, and 30 caliber is 0.30 of an inch across. 0.30 of an inch is 7.62 m, monsieur. The different calibers are about range and power. A bigger bullet will go further, faster and harder, but will need more powder to do so. They were standardized when inches were the normal unit. Now, we make new weapons with rounds, but the legacy of the old inch-based rounds remains.
Drafterman. There is no such thing as a proprietary size. A company can make ammunition in any size they see fit. The is largely going to be arbitrary, based on local traditions and equipment that is available. Consider that you want different size guns for different warfare purposes. If I have a gun that fires 5mm ammunition, it really doesn't benefit me to also get a gun that fires 5.1mm ammunition or 4.9mm ammunition. All other things being equal. If I want a larger or smaller gun, that ammunition is going to have to be some degree larger or smaller. How much smaller or larger? Well, that's hard to quantity, and different ammunition and firearm makers are going to make partially arbitrary decisions in that area. Not to mention that the manufacturing of ammo predates codified ammunition sizes like caliber. So when creating such a system, you're going to base it off of the existing ammo sizes, which won't necessarily fit a nice neat scheme. Ninja Parrot. Both of the other answers are correct, but also consider that the caliber doesn't tell you a whole lot in isolation. A bullet's power comes both from how heavy the bullet is and how fast it's moving. So a 7.62 AK bullet is the same caliber as a .30-06 hunting rifle. But the .30-06 bullet is heavier and has much more gunpowder behind it. So it adds up to radically more power. Therefore, companies do a lot of tweaking the bullet size, shape, weight, against the gunpowder amount and type, which leads to lots of different bullets that look similar but are optimized for different jobs.
Mergered burbles. ExplainLikeImFive. How does rubbing a blade on a strap sharpen it? Shokalian. It doesn't sharpen it, it strops or hones it. The difference is, sharpening removes metal, strapping just straightens up the edge. Honing polishes the edge to a fine finish. With use, the very, very fine microscopic edge of the blade can get rolled over and dulled slightly that way. The strop realigns the edge, and brings the sharp edge back to the fore, as well as buffing the edge up to extreme sharpness. Hence their common use with straight razors in the barber shop.
Lethal rads. The same way other methods of sharpening works. You wear down material to create an edge. With a strop, you're making very small changes. Typically this is to polish a blade, or sharpen a really thin blade. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.